Sunder is the Vice President of ICT Practice for Asia Pacific at Frost & Sullivan. He joins us now from Singapore. Ajay, great to have you on the program. How significant is this, that this is the second miss from Apple, the second since Cook took over from Steve Jobs?
Yeah, this is a significant miss from Apple. I mean, the analysts were expecting earnings per share more than $10 and revenues exceeding 37 billion. So, in the overall context, the miss from Apple is really significant. And considering Apple is such a bellwether share for the overall economy, it is looked upon as a precursor to what the tech industry will show. But it has to be looked at in the proper context also, in the sense that iPhone 5, which is supposed to be the next big driver, and most of the people, and the CEO has a point in saying that iPhone sales are the ones which basically miss the targets. And we're looking at 26 million. If you take into consideration the recontract process, so iPhone 5 could be the next big thing for Apple, and most of the iPhone consumers would be looking to recontract and maybe just holding on when Apple actually launches iPhone 5.
But we got to be careful, don't we, to put it all down to the iPhone 5, because there were macroeconomic factors here. I mean, it did mention that Europe was weak, for example.
Right. Yeah, macroeconomic factors do count, and also I think one other factor has to be competition. Samsung S3, for example, the Galaxy S3, already the reported sales are more than 10 million in the last one quarter. So whenever iPhone 5 now launches, it will be interesting to see how the sales figure basically span out.
You mentioned the Samsung Galaxy 3, but you've also got Android phones outselling Apple 3-1. Interesting also that this time around you had the missing estimates 2 quarters ahead of the arrival of the new iPhone, whereas in September last year it was just a quarter ahead, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it could be, the factor could be that consumers are just holding on to the next launch for iPhone 5, and we have to take into consideration that Apple fans are typically die-hard fans. So those who are looking at Apple launching the iPhone 5, they might, I mean, even if it's September or October or November, many of these fans would be willing to hold on.
All right, so the real bright spot, the real power in these results came from the iPad. But it is slowly, gradually losing market share, more competitors coming onto the market. Which is the one you think they need to be the most wary of?
I would say the Microsoft Surface would be the one which Apple needs to be really wary of. And the significant reason is that it's targeted towards the enterprise consumers. And iPad is still looked upon as an end consumer. Although enterprise customers are using it, but it's basically a standby gap when enterprise customers are, in between, they're traveling, till the time they can access their laptop. So if, say, Microsoft launches Surface in a full-fledged enterprise package, or some of the other players, they could target something for the enterprise customer. A tablet device for enterprise customer would be something which Apple needs to be wary of.
How worrying are the shrinking margins that Apple's experienced? It's guided heavily down in the next quarter on those, and it's possible that these aren't going away, right? Because emerging market customers may not be able to afford Apple products, and they might have to reduce the prices.
Right, I think shrinking margins are something which Apple will have to get used to, especially now if they're looking at China and China Mobile, the contract comes through. Yes, you're very right in saying that the emerging market consumers are typically more price conscious, and Apple will have to maybe moving forward, relook at their overall pricing strategy also. So shrinking margins is something in the long run they would have to get used to.
I'm curious about TV. They sold 1.3 million Apple TV. Yeah. But he says it's still a hobby, Tim Cook. I mean, it sounds strange to me. I wonder, is ITV going to be the next big thing for Apple? And if so, how long do we have to wait before it really takes off?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. But I guess Tim just wants to keep the expectation in line and does not want people to be really expecting a full-fledged Apple Smart TV in the near future. But overall, 4 million sales of Apple TV itself is a big number, and I don't think it can be considered a hobby project.
Okay, you and me both. Thanks very much. Ajay Sunder, Vice President of ICT Practice for Asia Pacific at Frost & Sullivan. We thank you for being with us this morning. So that's the latest analysis on Apple. Nintendo's troubles show no signs of going